Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another couch video. The higher the social class, the better the women. Now, yesterday I talked about like most select men have money. That's because most select men are in higher classes, because I know everybody always want to get into the shiftless bum type, player type, street dude types, but if as far as being select, that's about 15% of the select, and they have to be like, those are genetic guys. Those are guys who gotta have like the looks, height, body, all that stuff, right? In general, but the rest, everybody else in the select gotta work their way there, and social class plays a big part because also said yesterday, most masked men, who are the men who had, they not only present a certain look, but they're going to have money and status. Basically, that looks, money, and status thing. Most of them are going to be in upper classes. Now, I had someone who commented about being a blue collar guy making a bunch of money. Look, let me be clear about something. In Western culture, even though we talk a lot about race and everything, the more prevalent thing is class. Social class affects everything. Social class and moving up and down in social class is a major thing. The term hypergamy, the dictionary meaning of it is a woman moving up in social class. That's how deep it is. And when you look at what divides people, they divide it more along class line than racial lines. And any sociologist, any serious political student, anybody, they can tell that. They can see that there's a big difference. And just real quick, because a lot of times when I do videos or podcasts like that, someone will say, well, yeah, this they doing in the black community. I was like, stop. Unless I specifically say this is just a black community, this is everything. Because like when I was talking about masked men, somebody thought I'm just talking about black men, but actually it's way more prevalent in the white community. The masked man concept and money concept is way more prevalent. If you don't believe me, check out, there are plenty of content creators on YouTube who talk about looks, money, and status who are not black. And you look at the incel communities and even MGTOW communities. These are whites saying these things. In fact, you can find articles by whites who are talking about these things, okay? Let's be clear on that first and foremost. But here's the thing. I ain't going to get into too much of the negative stuff, but one of the things is when you're dealing with different social classes, as you rise in social class, you actually get access to better women, just period. Seriously, just period. Now, understand where I'm coming from. I ain't saying this just from like looking at a bunch of studies. Like, people know me a long time. I've always said, I spent the early part of my life in Southeast DC. And then, a little bit better part in Northeast. But once I went to high school, Catholic high school in the DC area, Archbishop Carroll, I started being exposed to a better crowd. I started being exposed because you had some money in there. It's like you had both blacks and whites in there, a few Hispanics, a couple thorough Asian dudes, right? You had white guys from some rich areas. You had black guys who were that upper class that they talked, that Lawrence Otis Graham talked about in his book, Our Kind of People. So I started being exposed to different things and stuff. And then, when I went to college and then beyond college, you were exposed to different things. Indeed, yes, I might have started out in Southeast, but I was exposed to better people, different levels of class. And even to this day, I might look moderate, which is by choice and everything. But even now, the area I live in, Bel Air, Maryland, particularly the zip code, which is 21015, and look it up yourself. The median income is over 6 figures. The median household income is over 6 figures. Household income. Which means we got some money around here. you know, virtually crime free. So, and I'm saying all of that to say, when you start dealing, you know, just going from different classes, dealing, you know, with the street type of women all the way up to the bougie women, you know, everything, and especially from my educational background, dealing with primarily 92 octanes, those high class corporate women. Now, let's be clear on it. When you dealing with them, it's not, you know, because you got guys in these spaces complain, oh, these women they single moms, they got all these kids, they out of shape. That's on the lower end of the spectrum. If you use BGS's octane models, those are like the 85s, 87s, you know, maybe 89s. As you go up, they start looking more attractive. They more in shape and stuff. And not just that, but their behavior is different. Now, in a podcast today, I talked about, yeah, you do get those women who grew up in like the middle class areas and everything, and because of what they see on TV, they act ratchet or something. That's still not a majority. Most women stay in their circles. Now, I know some guys will say, well, I seen that like educated woman making all that money with Pookie and Ray Ray. First of all, I'm gonna be real. You probably didn't. I'm gonna tell you why. It's not to say that woman wouldn't, if a woman at that higher level wouldn't deal with them, but first of all, that Pookie and Ray Ray would have to be an alpha showpiece. Two, when they go up to the higher classes, when they deal with anybody who's not in that class, it's totally behind closed doors. They won't walk out in public with them. A lot of times what somebody think is educated is just a woman who might be an 87 or even an 89 who works as an office worker somewhere. They're the assistant. They not the boss. They not the manager. They not educated. Because see, one of the things in them, because this is an important thing, especially as you move up. These women are very much, yes, they're going to be in better shape. Yes, their overall behavior is going to be better. They ain't going to act ratchet or anything. Now, this ain't saying they perfect either. They just keep their stuff behind closed doors. So if you say you saw it in public, I already know you ain't dealt with one of them. They don't do that, you know. And if you say, well, I seen it. Did you walk up to that woman and ask her what her education background was, where her class was and stuff? There's a whole lot of women who are 87s who fix up because they got to work in a law office, doctor's office, or wherever. And there's a lot of nuances to tell where they from. I'm just telling you. Because when they get up there, they hiding shit. And they vetting people too. You know, discretion's a big thing. If they going to do their stuff, they still got vagina, still want to have sex. But overall, when you look at them overall, better to deal with. You ain't going to get the same drama. You ain't going to have the babies as much. You ain't going to have them. You're going, as you get higher, you're hard pressed to find a woman with a child. And usually if you do, it might be one child which they made a conscious decision to raise by themselves. And you do get it. So it's not impossible. But whatever the case, it's just a different vibe. It's a different vibe, better behavior, more classy. These are the type of women who will work hard to stay in shape. They'll be in the gyms. They'll be in the gyms. Like in the area I live in, I go to my local gym. Shit, the women are in there crowded. And let me shout out someone who gives me some good testimonies on my comments, Charles Mosley, and he was saying, you know, one of his comments, how, you know, at that level the men are like, you better go to the damn gym, because they see that's one thing too. When if you're a man, you're at that level of money and status, power, you looking good, you in shape, you can look at that woman and say you better. In fact, any women listening talking about they better get that bag, well, I got a video coming on my women's channel saying, hey, you better get that tight body, because that's how deep it is. But it's a different thing how you do stuff. And a lot of it, I'm gonna tell you what, like when you're dealing with women of lower classes, it really is more about your physicality and everything. It's more just pure physical. It's not even about how much money you making so much, unless they on some pimp hoe type of game or acculturated prostitute type of game, right? And in fact, it's usually, actually, the acculturated prostitutes, honestly, usually in those lower range, 87s, 89s. The 92s got their own money. And then, you get to the hundreds, well, they at a high level anyway. But, mostly dealing with 92s. Now, the only issue now, let's be clear. It ain't like you just get them and everything's perfect. Because the world of the 92s is very much how you behave in public. Y'all can do whatever behind closed. Once the doors close, hey, you can come off that chandelier, tie your ass up and all that stuff. Publicly, they might look at you and say, oh yeah, he fine, he all that. Where'd you go to school? Yeah. How much money you making? Or what you do for a living? Where'd you go to school? Then they also watching your behavior and stuff. All right. You start getting into that higher level. Now I told y'all, and like I said, you can go on my Instagram and see a picture with me and an attorney at a high class affair. You gotta carry yourself a certain way. So but it's actually, I'm gonna be honest. Now, this is from Rom's perspective, having seen like really all sides from the 85s to the 100s. The dealings with the 100s, that's another podcast or video. But once you see it all, you do develop, you understand the goods and the bads. Like if you're dealing with the 85s, 87s, oh yeah, they cool. They ain't as deep, unless they're an acculturated prostitute, they ain't as deep into hitting you up for money, as long as you're making some money or some just basic stuff. But one, as a man, you're thinking, okay, how long they gonna keep this body tight? Which they got all levels got a shelf life. All right, so it's like, and then you got to have a certain edge at that level though. You gotta have a certain edge. That's just how it is. Hence the whole Pookie and Ray Ray thing. All right. But then as you move up, the women are more concerned about how they look publicly. That's a big thing. Because everything isn't, like I say, you got some good parts, but you're going to have some bad parts. You got to be able to like roll in a certain environment, carry yourself in a certain way, and talk in a certain way. And I think I made a mention, I'm going to shout out Kevin Samuels. I remember I was doing a live stream with him a while ago, and I had mentioned, I said, if I wanted to deal with that type of world again, because I go in and out of that world now. I got more freedom now. Because the thing is, the only biggest problem is you do have to follow certain protocols. And I said if I did, well, I'd be shaving a bit more, and carrying myself a certain way, and y'all wouldn't see Car Rom at all. Y'all might see Professor Rom a bit more. When I did that video last week talking about the female selection criteria, I had my shirt on sitting in front of my bookcase. But you would see that a bit more if I wanted to deal with that world. Because I'm just be honest with you, that is a drawback in my opinion with that world. You got to be very conscious of how you carry yourself publicly, Because I remember when I was introduced to this, and it was I was at this party, mostly bougie folks, professionals, and all of that, and I knew some of the people there. Ron was going in there like he was at the go-go, and I had this brother. He yanked me up and said, "Hold up, man, hold up." And this is when This is when I really started learning about that whole side, because I still had some of that street in me, despite the going to a certain high school and college. So he was like, hold up, man, you can't be rolling like that in here. He told me straight up. He did one of those old school brothers things, grabbed me by the pull my coattails and stuff. He was like, hold up, come on over here, let me talk to you. So that's the only thing. But overall, if you can navigate that, it's actually better, because it's a whole different mindset. If y'all notice, like on this channel, I don't say anything about ratchets. I do not talk about ratchets. I don't really talk about ratchets. And the reason why, I have to go back years I got to go back to childhood to see when I even dealt with. Because like I said, this country, Western culture is more divided along class lines and race lines. We focus on race and stuff, but really, it's a class thing. In fact, I remember I was doing a seminar and a woman was asking about interracial relationships. And I said, a man and woman, because he was talking about black men going with these different women. I said, he's going to click with somebody more in his social class than anything else. And really, I'm going to be honest with you. When somebody talks about the types of women they deal with or running into, they telling me a social class. Because quite frankly, the dudes and if we use BGS's octane scale for men, 92s ain't dealing with like some hood girls. Unless they happen to work in the office or something, be one of the office workers. No, they mostly dealing with 92s and maybe, depending on how far up the ladder they are, some 100s. That's, in fact, 100 that actually came from the hood is the closest a lot of more upper middle class type of men are going to like deal with. And even then they're going to be like, because seriously, like overall, I would say the women, I put them in the 7 to 9 range, which you're going to see most of the time if they're not 100. Like just physically, because like I said, they're going to work harder to stay in shape. They're going to have a better diet, all that stuff. You know, and when you deal with them, a lot of them they can get up into, if they don't get married, they can get up into their 40s without having a kid. So this is just a different world and stuff. It really is. And, you know, that's one of the things, but you gotta keep the class in mind and everything. And I'm gonna start hitting on that because a lot of times people think it's all one big lump thing, and that just tells me anybody who's like gone through different classes, even seen it, you know, it's like, oh, these are different behaviors. The women, I mean, you can like take one look at the women if you know how to look at them and say, oh wait, these are different women. So, and that class, like I said, class, that's the biggest division. Biggest single division, even bigger than some of the other stuff we think about. So anyway, that's all I got for now. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.